The terms aren't good enough. Well, that's what President Trump is reportedly saying about a ceasefire deal from Iran.
Now, he won't say what the regime offered, but he did say that he's not sure if the new Iranian leader is even still alive. We do know he was wounded in that initial strike by the Israelis. Let's discuss it all with co-founder and CEO of MirYam Institute and one-time IDF combat reservist, Benjamin Anthony. We're also joined by the former National Security Advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney, Steve Yates. Thanks both for being with us. Benjamin, the president says he's not taking anything off the table after the bombing in Kharg Island. He left, he left the oil infrastructure intact. Oil vital to Iran's economy, and if the regime is overthrown, to whatever new government takes place. So what do you think that he needs to do next?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And as somebody who's joining your show from Israel, I just want to acknowledge the loss of the U.S. service personnel in this war thus far. Your loss is our loss, and your bereavement is our bereavement. And we thank them all and everybody engaged in this conflict for their brave service. In terms of what President Trump needs to do next, I think that he needs to do that which he's done thus far, which is to disregard all of the hysteria about the success or lack thereof of this campaign. We're in very early stages of a campaign against a well-entrenched terror regime in the Middle East that has been a menace for decades, that has attacked its neighbors in the region, that has attacked U.S. forces in the region, and that has sworn to wipe the state of Israel off the map. So the notion that this regime would have been brought to heel by this stage, to me, is preposterous and ridiculous. He needs to stay fixed on the targets that he's announced very clearly, as has the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, namely, to bring about an end to Iran's nuclear pursuit, to bring about an end to its ballistic missile capabilities, manufacture and delivery thereof, to decimate and to destroy the Navy, and to bring about a regime change that is more in keeping with what the United States can work with. Now, he said that the son of the supreme leader is not suitable for purpose. I agree with that. Time will tell. Keep the pressure on.
Steve, I want to bring you in and talk about our allies. Of course, this whole thing started with American and Israeli forces and Israel launching wide-scale strikes against Iran. But that's not the only ally President Trump wants to see in action. The commander-in-chief wants our other allies to send warships, notably China and the UK, to the Strait of Hormuz. He specifically said South Korea, France, Japan, everybody. Is this the best strategy with the goal in mind of ending this conflict soon and, of course, keeping the strait open and safe?
Well, I think if you look at the layers of threats that are being dealt with in this major operation that were just outlined, everything that has been done so far, the results are basically spectacular. So I'm not going to Monday morning quarterback what the president is doing by way of options, but the president also throws out bold ideas that are meant to shake things up and maybe reset what assumptions there are about the nature of the conflict and what comes after. And basically, the actions that have been taken militarily and economically so far have been to protect the interests of oil importing countries. What he's saying is that you're in Europe, you're in China and broader East Asia, we're helping you out, and you need to be in the discussion about helping this out. Now, is it part of the major military operations? No. Is it part of the economic calming of markets and making sure the things that need to flow go? Probably more of that. Will China actually send ships? Probably a bit of a dilemma for them. If they do, they look subordinate to President Trump. That's something they don't like. If they don't, then they are not really standing up for their people and their economic interests. So in a way, the president is doing some information shaping and maybe checkmating the likes of Beijing and some others along the way.
Yeah. Benjamin, I want to pick up on something that you said. You said we're in the very early stages of this campaign. The word that's being spread around here is, well, we got about 2 weeks left. Right. But I've got a question that, and you'll, I'm sure, know the answer. Israel is better at sort of this stuff in the Middle East than pretty much anybody, including us. They get in there, they get people on the ground, they are not caught, they wreak havoc, and especially have done that in Iran. But when I started seeing Israel now attacking in Lebanon, going after Hezbollah there, I questioned that, because if we take out Iran, Hezbollah loses its funding. Why is Israel sort of splitting its force instead of threatening along with us straight on with Iran?
Well, it's splitting its force for a number of reasons. That's a great question. Firstly, because we can. And part of the reason that we can is we've got the allies here, the great United States of America, fighting shoulder to shoulder with us in an unprecedented manner and really leading this campaign now against the Iranian regime and against the targets that have been identified for destruction and elimination. That's the first reason. It's a rare moment in history. Secondly, because we have to be able, as the Americans say, to walk and chew gum at the same time. We're dealing with the Iranians, certainly, everybody's witness to that. But we have a proximate threat right on our border by the name of Hezbollah. And Hezbollah is wreaking havoc upon the Israeli homeland at this time. Just a couple of days ago, they fired more than 150 munitions towards us. And that's why at this stage, even though Hezbollah has been designated by our chief of the general staff here in the military as a second-tier priority to Iran, we're actually marshalling tens of thousands of reservists, readying to go from a defensive posture inside southern Lebanon to an offensive posture, potentially pushing all the way to Beirut, because we have no other choice.
Benjamin Anthony, thank you. Steve Yates, thank you. Appreciate you guys.